with Jean Marie Prince. And today we have two guests, and they just actually did a missions trip in Africa. And Ed Lewis, and thank you so much. And also then we have Alisha Karminski. Sorry about that, I knew I was going to do that. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And I always like to hear about missions trips because I know the fact that sometimes you will see what God could do in in different situations and things like that. And you're also the director, Ed, of the evangelism for Smithtown Gospel Tabernacle as well. How important it is to spread God's message, right?
Absolutely.
So this must be such a blessing opportunity for you to have gone.
It was exciting.
Right, right. And also, you went to what, Nigeria?
We went to Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Nigeria is very populated. 170 million live in the country of Nigeria. We flew into Lagos, and then from there to Abuja, the capital.
Okay.
And then we had a 10-hour bus drive into the deeper part, the bushlands, if you will, the Gombe State, Nigeria.
Right.
A little long trip, but it was exciting, well worth it.
Sure, sure. So was it like a 2-day, would you almost say it's like a 2-day trip?
It was 2 days there. Coming back, it turned out to be 5 days, but that's another story.
Okay, well, good. Maybe we'll find out about that. Now, going to, what was your goal of the missions trip before you actually went there?
We were going to be working with missionaries, Cindy and Eric Black. They're actually missionaries sent out by Smithtown Gospel Tabernacle, our church. They have a large family of 6 children.
Wow, okay.
So that was 8 in their family. We were going to come alongside them, encourage them. The church every 2 years at least likes to send teams out to the missionaries we sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
So this was their second year without having anybody. So we went there. And the mission was going to be to come alongside pastors there in Nigeria, teach also at a school that Eric runs in Beleri, Nigeria there. So he has a school that teaches both discipleship and technical studies for the population there in Beleri.
Right. Now, how large was your missions group, and how did you prepare for this?
Okay. We had a total of 5 on our team, okay? One of them was actually the missionary's daughter, okay, but she was in the States, and she helped us fundraise before we did that. And a trip like that to Nigeria, to the other side of the world, gets expensive. So we had several fundraising events which helped drive that. We had very generous donors from the church come alongside us. And the most important part of preparing for a missions trip is the prayer foundation. And each one on the team would come up with 20 prayer partners at least to cover us in prayer during that whole time.
Sure.
And we felt their prayers. Those many times we were in some crazy situations, and we said, "Lord, we need you now."
Well,
it was great.
Sometimes I think just going to Africa, that seems like such a challenge to go, there, knowing the poverty and the situation sometimes can be a little bit dangerous as well, right?
We experienced some of that. Yes.
Can you tell us, share?
Well, my wife's here now. I just wanted to worry while I was in Africa, but just the drive there alone, they have no rules on the roads. There was only 2 cities that we went through that had any street lights or any stop signs or anything. So everybody gets very creative in their driving habits. If traffic is slow in front of you, it's okay to go in the oncoming lane. Dodging motorcycles and potholes and trucks, and that was harrowing for a while. We had a 10-hour bus ride.
Well, besides that, I was going to say, what about the animals that are trying to
they learned to step lively, and the ones that didn't, well, they were dinner. But yeah, we had that. We had some intimidation too from other non-believers, if you will, different Islamic groups. Just intimidation.
Oh, sure.
We didn't feel like it was a threat to our lives or anything like that. Coming back, it got very interesting at the airport. We had a 28-hour delay at the airport. People got very upset about that, and became very vocal.
Right. Now, where did you stay on your journey?
We stayed,
with the Blacks, like what type of...
the accommodations we had was, the Blacks have a 3-bedroom home, and Alisha stayed there with Judy and Hannah. And Terry Sullivan, who was our team leader, he and I stayed in the adjoining house next to it. The accommodations for the houses were nice, but you have to understand, there's no electricity. Okay, the electricity only came when they ran the generator, and that's expensive to do, and gas
Sure.
is the same price in Nigeria as it is here in the
Right.
United States. So we had flashlights we'd use at night.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have battery power type of things. We'd take sponge baths, okay, no running showers or anything
Oh,
like
wow.
that. And the water had to be run. You had to turn a generator on to fill up the water tower, and you'd have to do that, and that gave you water into the house.
Right.
But everything else was manual from that point. Sponge bath in the morning and
How,
kind of
right, I guess, how, you must be so happy to come back to America.
I appreciate my shower when
Right?
you turn that on, and when you turn the
That's
light switch on.
It's like a third world country.
It is. It absolutely
Wow.
was where we were staying.
Sure. Now, also, would you say the main reason for a missions trip really is to share the gospel?
Absolutely.
So tell me the successes or the blessings that you've had.
We
with
had
it.
real. The whole trip was exciting in terms of sharing the gospel and ministering, coming alongside other people. The first week we were there, Thursday and Friday, we landed Tuesday. Wednesday we went to a palace to see a king.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday and Friday we got
Yeah,
to come.
I wanted to stop you short. Can you share about that, visit with the palace with the king?
Yeah, since British rule, they never took away the independent provinces of local rule of kings and that type of provincial government. Okay, right now, as of 1966, that has been changed, but they still have some areas where they have provincial government rule. And in this area, Baleri, you have a king in that area. He has a palace.
Wow.
And we had, when you bring people in from out of town, Eric Black, the missionary, is very well known. And he was invited whenever he brings people in from out of the country to bring them to the palace.
Right.
So we had an audience with the king there. We had dinner with, the king had a beautiful dinner prepared for us, all food from that area, which was
Sure.
exciting. The palace, he has a throne. He had chairs on both sides of them. They were gold chairs. Felt like royalty sitting there with
Yeah.
him. We had his audience. He's dressed in a long robe. It's typical that we would bring a gift to him.
Sure.
So we brought him a Yankees cap. Go Yankees! So he didn't put it on for us because he was wearing his banded hat that was over him. So I was really hoping he was going to just step aside and put the Yankee cap
Maybe
on.
he's a Met fan.
And well, but are there any men? No, I shouldn't say that.
Yes, I am. Myself and my
This is
children,
your show.
we're the undefeated.
We didn't talk about that before the show.
we pity the people that really need the help.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So and he presented our team with a cooked turkey wrapped in aluminum foil
Right.
that we brought home. And the missionaries really appreciated that because it was good, wholesome meat that
right,
they
right.
didn't see much of.
Yeah, that's great. So now, would you say the king, is he a believer?
I had the opportunity actually to, yes, he was, actually pray for him. And he bowed down to the King of Kings, Lord of Lords,
good.
right there in his palace. And I was
Wow.
able to pray a prayer blessing over him for leadership, guidance, and direction. And now he runs his providence right there. So
Right.
I felt that was a humbling experience in that here this king bows down before the King of Kings.
Wow, that's great.
And that was
And maybe that's why you were also invited, as
Yeah,
well,
I don't know.
because the blessings with that. So, along with the fact that you were blessed, what kind of challenges did you come across?
Well, we started out saying that we went to a village area in San Sinai Thursday and Friday when we got in that
Right.
first week. And in that village, there's no lights. So here you have a village where there's hundreds of homes. There's no street lights.
Right.
It was overcast at night, so you didn't have starlight and moonlight. It was
oh, really?
completely pitch black. We were working alongside and with the church. They had an evangelism program out at night for 2 weeks where they presented films out to the people of those huts. And we had gone around before it got dark, visited the people in some of those huts, prayed with them. There was all kinds of needs, and we were able to pray with the people for some of those needs. We had one lady that was brought to Judy, the teammate, myself, and another gentleman that was with us. And she came, her body was shaking tremendously. Not like a tremor or something like that, but her whole body was shaking. This much, whole
Right,
body.
wow.
I'd never seen anything like that before, and they brought it to us. And we had prayed over her. Judy had her hand on one shoulder, I had my hand on the other shoulder. And as we prayed over her, probably about 5 or 6 minutes. You could feel during that time that intense shaking had just diminished and diminished to where she was completely delivered. I
Right.
had no idea what she
Wow.
had, but she was set free. She rejoiced, and that was an exciting time. And that's how
Yeah,
we
no,
started
that
on
is.
Thursday
Wow,
night, of just
sure.
getting in there
Seeing
to see
God's
a
power at
physical,
work.
absolutely, to see a physical miracle right in front of you. That was exciting, and then just to minister to some of the people and the children. I wanted to take a busload of them home.
How
to do that.
big or small is Christianity in Africa?
Well, in that part of Nigeria there, Nigeria itself is basically 50-50, 50% Muslim, 50% Christianity. But we've noticed that the Christianity there in Nigeria isn't very deep.
Right.
Okay, the people, they call themselves Christians and whatever like that, and they identify as being Christian other than a Muslim. But as far as their understanding, their depth, their discipleship, it doesn't go very deep. And that was our concern too, that we wanted to minister to people and make opportunities for them to see further discipleship.
Sure, sure. And I'm thinking, did you have a challenge? Because lately I've been watching the news and talking about the Ebola and the two doctors coming out of Nigeria having Ebola, right?
Yeah, those two doctors were actually missionaries, if I understand it.
Yes,
They were
okay.
doctors, and we had, on our return trip, we stopped in a town called Jos, which is a missionary retreat center. We were actually praying for those doctors, a whole group of some 25 missionaries that gather on the first Friday of every month, and we had the opportunity to minister with them and pray with them.
Well, I think they were doctors that was actually missionaries helping with the Ebola.
Yes.
Did you guys have any concerns for yourselves?
We were really devoid of press inputs. It was like, again, there's no TV or anything like that. We heard it was going around. My wife would talk to me on the phone and say, I'm concerned. And I said, don't worry about it, honey. We're going to do fine. And I think it was actually north of the area we were in.
Yeah.
The countries above us, not so much Nigeria.
Right. Now, Alisha, I know that you were born in Ethiopia, right? How did you end up living in America?
I'm adopted
Okay.
from Ethiopia. So that's
We're in
how
the
I
family of
was-
adoption, yes.
So that's how I was able to come to America.
Right. So what made it that you were a child that was put up for adoption?
Well, when I was 4, I lost my mom, so like my dad couldn't support me, and I was like a challenged kid, so I was hurt. So my dad was not able to be there for me, so he was, and the education was better, so he
Right.
let me.
Well, you know what, your dad probably felt that, you know what, if you were adopted in America, like we said before, it's a third world country, and maybe he wasn't able to provide what he would love to have provided for you. So you know what, in the fact that you blessed a family, and that's the way I feel. That when you're adopted, you're chosen to be loved. So that's wonderful. And now, so when you did, let's say for instance, with your faith, because how old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
Now?
Yeah.
I'm 17. I just turned.
Okay, a 17-year-old going on a mission trip to Africa, wow, that has to be such faith to even want to do that. Did you always have faith in Jesus Christ?
Yes, since I got adopted, that's when I really had a relationship with Christ. When I was younger, I know about God, but I really didn't deeper relationship. But
Right. No, that's great. And because you know what, God's going to help you throughout your life, and that's the strength that you're going to need sometimes through the trials that you're going to be put across. Now, when you went back to Africa, how close is Ethiopia to Nigeria? Because I believe you were born in Ethiopia, right?
yeah, I think it's pretty close because it's like an old tribe. The Africa and Nigeria Ethiopia and Nigeria are close in population, so it's similar. I remember driving to it, be like, oh, I remember that when I was a kid.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How old were you when you adopted?
At 10.
10. Okay, so yeah, all right, that's good. Is it, so now 7 years later, is it still looking the same, or is it a little bit more different?
Well, I don't know what Nigeria looked like when I was a kid.
Sure.
But it seems like it's similar but different at the same time. So I walk around and be like, wow, this is me. They're the same situation, but at the same time it's different. So I don't know.
Right. Now, being a 17-year-old on a mission trip, what kind of challenges and blessings did you come across?
Well, when I went to Nigeria at first, I thought like I would like help others and like trying to share them with my action more than like I speak, because I'm kind of shy sometimes. So
You're doing a good job right now, though.
I was kind of like worried about what I'm gonna do. Like I want God's will to be done.
Sure.
So, but when I got there, it was so surprising, because the people like heart was willing to accept us, like willing to let us in their life, and you know, counseling with the kids, talking to them. It was like it really helped me to grow in God.
And because the fact that you were the youngest in the group, how did you feel about that? Did you have any other companions, you know, in your age group, would you say, or that might have been there? Not so much on the trip, because I think everybody was older.
No, it was fun. I had a lot of fun. I mean, there was Hannah, but she got sick like the second week, so she couldn't go along with us to the villages. But then there's her sister, so she was there with me when we went. So it was fun.
No, that's great. Would you recommend missions trip for teenagers?
Yes, I definitely do, because especially if you love God and you know, if you want God to be glorified, I mean, you have to give everything you have. And you don't have to travel around the world, you know, to share God's love. But I recommended that they should like share God the best as they could.
Since you lived in Ethiopia for 10 years, so you got to see the poverty that's there. And also going back, you probably also got to see the poverty in Africa, right?
Yeah.
And now living in America and seeing what America has been given, sometimes you could almost think like we are so spoiled, and yet when we take it for granted and we don't, you know, it's almost sometimes like we should have that third world experience to see the blessings of what we have today, that we, you know, and because sometimes I feel even with my own kids, they've got everything. You know, and sometimes I think, you know, sometimes I think it would be good for them to see, to go on a mission trip and to see the fact, you know, there are people out there that are starving, that really need, you know, to know about God, which they're not, you know, we take for granted the Bible, you know, that we have. Where for them to get a Bible, it's hard for them to know.
Absolutely.
And so that's why with the mission trip, it's so important to go to the different rural places, right?
Yes.
The third world countries, because they're really the ones who haven't heard the gospel.
We were able to share films outside the villages there, and that was a good way of communicating. They could see. It's not the same as taking a Bible home.
Sure.
But it came along with preachers sharing with them after the film, and it was a good attraction to just draw them from the villages to that church we had.
Right. I mean, you know what? In the end, it is that, you know, for the believers that are in the third world country and having it hard, it's almost as if they're going to be so amazed at what's going to be in heaven.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? When the fact that they give their life over to Jesus Christ, and to realize, oh my goodness, it was worth the sacrifice.
His eye has not seen or ear heard, nor has it been entered in man's mind what God has prepared for those who love Him. So yes, heaven. Even for us, having everything here is going to be great, but for them, it's going to really.
What would you say was your, the Bible verse that helped you to come, you know, to get through these mission trips?
Well, one Bible verse that I treasure in my heart is Jeremiah 29:11, which is where the word says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And if I look at plans, I think of an architect. And here the architect of the universe, who has set the stars in place, and the sun comes up faithfully every morning, and designed this body we have and everything like that. That same architect says, I know the plans I have for you. So if we put our life and His plans in His hands, wow, I mean, He could really take us places that will glorify Him, and He'll keep us at the same time.
You know, and I definitely, agree with that, because I don't know if you know, you were adopted at 10 years old. I was found in a bathroom, public bathroom, at 2 days old in Seoul, Korea. So you know what God has planned for you, right? To get His message out, and now I know, my purpose is to inspire the world with love, faith, and hope. So it's amazing what He can do.
Absolutely.
You know, so also now with missions work, I think it's only for a select few. And who would you say that they would be? You know, that when you're thinking.
When you say select few, it's for everybody.
It is for everybody, but it's only a select few who would be willing to take the faith
Yeah.
You know what I'm
That's-
saying?
Yeah, not everybody steps out. The command by Christ was to go into all the world and preach the gospel. So the command is for everybody. On this particular trip, I've been on many missions trips. On this particular one, I felt more than just the command of Christ, but actually a calling, which was a little different. I prayed over the flyers we had at the church for the different mission trips we had. And every time I'd pray over the one for Nigeria, I would just weep and weep and didn't understand why. And I just said, Lord, you're telling me something here. And, about 10 weeks ago, I took off a day from work, and I just prayed it through. And the Lord made it very real to me. This is a trip I want you to go on. You know, could have went on many trips, and it could have been a blessing. But this was obedience unto the Lord that He was calling me to this trip. But no, I think it's important that anybody, it's to stretch out of your comfort zone to go on a missions trip, but it's such a blessing when you do. And I would just encourage everybody to. And if you can't actually physically cross the ocean, you can go across the street for your neighbor, pray for them, and actually pray for those that are going on trips.
Right, because that was another one of my questions I was going to say, is that do you feel, closer to God when you're helping, His people in another country, or, actually His people, and do you have to go to another country to even feel closer, But really, in reality, it could be your neighbor.
Absolutely.
It could be the person down the road. It doesn't have to be across the country to share the gospel, because a lot of people here, like you were just saying before, is that missions is for everybody. Jesus Christ is for everybody, but who is willing to take that leap of faith? And we, as we know, broad is the road that leads to destruction, and narrow is the road that leads to life.
Right.
So it's and that's why it is so important for missions to really go out there and to spread the gospel, because as we know, is that we want everybody to be accepted,
Absolutely.
to accept Jesus Christ. But it's very hard for everybody to do that. But it's also great that we have people that are willing to take the leap of faith, the missions groups and the teams and things like that, who are maybe afraid, but yet they know that God is going to be with them. Now I understand that one or two people got malaria while they were on the trip.
At least.
No. Hannah did. Like, once you get it, it's like you get it over again. Like, over
really?
times, it doesn't really go away. So I guess she got it that week. So Hannah and Judy got sick, but for only one day.
Oh, wow.
So,
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that I had interviewed the Gilzan family, and you had heard, the fact that she had malaria, two types of malaria. She almost died.
Wow.
Yeah, because they actually, the missions family out in SGT, out in Africa. Now, does the church support you financially, or do you get financial support in other ways, and how?
The church doesn't support the missions trips. We'll see that the leader of the team, their way is paid, but we're required individually to raise our own support. And we have we come up with some functions, plans as a team ahead of time to do that. And one of the things we did was we had, sounds corny, but we had a bake sale at the church after services on the Northex, outside the Northex. People would come and we'd bake cupcakes or cookies or whatever, and they wouldn't just give you 50 cents for a cookie. They'd throw $10 down or whatever like that.
I bought some stuff for my father.
We had a fish bake one time, and then we had a yard sale. We collected a lot of things. Some very generous friends handed things over to us, and we were able to sell them. And so we raised our own support.
Good. Now, if viewers wanted more information on missions trip, is there a website that they could get, some information on that?
Well, Smithtown Gospel Tabernacle, it's gospeltabernacle.org. We have a website. They could scroll around on that, contact Pastor Rich, and he could give them more information. If somebody attends a church that doesn't have a missions program, they should encourage their pastor to have one. And if they don't know how to go about doing that, they could contact Pastor Rich Collingridge at our church. He can help set them up for one.
Right. So Ed, why should people get involved? Is it really a life-changing event?
Absolutely.
How has it changed your?
You're seeing different cultures, but also the provision of God you see just unravel before you. That God's provision is just so abundant. I see how God's provision's been there for the Black family, Eric and Cindy Black, where He's provided for their rent. They stay in a rent-free place. They have a school where they teach at $50 a month. They have 16 dormitories, large conference rooms. So just God's provision in our safety and every way.
Right.
It just expands your faith.
Great.
I was blessed.
Now, Alisha, what about you? You know, if you were able to share this with another teenager, what would you say?
Yeah, definitely they should go, because you see, when I was traveling with them to the villages to share our faith, and I was with Ed one night. The next day we went the same place, but we went walking, and there were people like drinking, stuff like that, and I was there, and I was really scared, you know. I was like, oh God, what did I put myself into?
Sure.
But this guy came, gave him like a Facebook thing in the back, there's a question. So he's like, what is this? And I was just like, oh, it's answer the question.
Sure.
So he's like, what's the question? I was like, I was frustrated at first. And then I was like, well, if you die tonight, like today, right now, by motorcycle, and where will you go? And he was like, oh, I don't know. Will you go to heaven? And he's like, I really don't know. So I was like, well, you know, there's a way you'll know you can go to heaven. But he knew Christianity. He was a Christian when he was younger. So he was my age, so like I was able to share with him, and God totally showed me how to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And I was able like to grow in my faith.
Yeah.
And he was sharing his life with me, and how he was a drug dealer and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, you know.
Yeah.
And finally, I felt like I was supposed to tell him the story of Paul. But finally, he was like, my name is Saul. And I was like, before even I tell him the name of Paul.
Hey, Saul, by the way, your name is going to be Paul.
Yeah.
I want to just thank you so much for the both of you coming and to share about your mission trip. And I just feel that everybody should really hear about a mission trip and why the importance of it and what the main focus would be, you know, and why maybe they might want to get involved as well. But I'd like to give to Pastor Rich, if you don't mind giving in this, since he is in charge of the missions trip and stuff like that. And I always like to give one of my inspirations, and I chose Jesus, You're My Inspiration, because Inspired Blessings Books and Prints at gmarieprints.com, because I feel that this is what Jesus would want you to do, because this is what he did. Okay. You showed me you walked so long ago. You showed me how kind you are, how loving you can be, how many times you've forgiven me. You were so kind to sinners. You were there to help the needy. You showed us how special we are. That is why I want to be just like you. That is why I long to follow your path. But when I fail to do it, I know you'll be by my side. Fill me with your spirit and just show me how to do it. And he guides the humble in what is right and teaches them his way. Psalm 25:9. So if you could give this to Pastor Rich, you know.
Thank you very much. I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
No problem. And again, thank you so much. And I want to thank you also for joining us today. And keep inspired blessings within arm's reach to help give you comfort when others are lost for words. Thank you, and God bless. To accept and receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, please say this prayer. I know that I am a sinner who needs forgiveness. Jesus, please forgive me for all my sins and purify me. I know that you died and rose again to pay for my sins. I need you to be my Lord and Savior for the rest of my life. Thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible.